What's going on, guys? It's Kyle again with DTOM Knives and Gear. Today, I'm going to be doing a review on this guy. This is the Cold Steel, can't talk today, the Cold Steel SR1. This was a knife that was sent by my good buddy, Rusty Knife Lover. Such an awesome dude. He sent me a huge box of knives to try out. A lot of them are traditionals, which we are going through right now and trying to see what kind of tickles my fancy on that arena because I'm not usually a traditional guy. But he also sent some other knives, this being one of them, and I was really excited. You guys, if you know me and my channel, I like bigger knives. I like overbuilt knives, and I'm a real huge fan of Cold Steel and Andrew Demko. And this is one that I've never handled. I really, really like this thing. So what are we working with? This thing is G10 with S35 VN steel, and it feels light in my hand. We'll do some weights and stuff later, but it feels light in my hand. I know it's not a light knife, but however, I mean, I carry really heavy knives sometimes, so this is not cumbersome for me as far as the weight, but it does have a very big chunk of S35 VN steel. This thing is like 190 thousandths thick, so it's a beast. It's a beast. Matter of fact, it is almost, it feels like a pry bar is what it feels like. It feels like a cutting pry bar. The Cold Steel and Andrew Demko, they build tough knives. This one is the Triad Lock. And so the Triad Lock is arguably the strongest lock on the market if you are wanting a heavy-duty, hard-use folder and you're not a fidgety guy, then the Cold Steel and Andrew Demko Triad Lock is really excellent. If you're not somebody who likes to fidget with their knives and you want a good work knife, I suggest to look at Cold Steel. Now, Cold Steel has sold. I can't even remember the company that they sold to, but they have sold, and so we are kind of waiting. I am at least. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, thinking that everything's going to be fine as far as the new Cold Steel. But I heard Lynn Thompson say that he's still going to be involved, and so that makes me happy. So, you know, there's a lot of good models out there that are still available. They're still made in Taiwan. Most of their models. This one is made in Taiwan. And as you can see, it is wearing some very nice green G10. This green G10 is grippy. It's not like horrible grip. It's pretty aggressive, but it's not horrible. I kind of like it, especially for a work knife. It's definitely one of those that could possibly be a pocket shredder because the pocket clip does go over that. And so I can definitely see over time it messing your pockets a little bit, but it's not that bad. It's nothing like the Cold Steel 8015 and this very aggressive G10 that's on that guy. This thing, as far as, like I said, it's not fidgety. It has the Cold Steel or the Triad Lock. And so the action on this thing is really nice because it has that lock spring, as you can see, whenever you go out and then it kind of spots, it kind of jumps. And so the action on this guy is very smooth, but it's not fidgety. You know, you can flick it out with your thumb really easily. This one is wearing a, oh crap, snaggletooth, and I can't remember the dead gum company. I meant to look that up before the video, but anyway, Rusty has got this snaggletooth that acts like the Emerson Wave on some of his knives. And I got to tell you, after carrying this, I wasn't a fan of the Emerson Wave. I'm just not. I don't usually deploy my knives that way. But I will say this, I've had some on the channel and tried them out. This actually, to me, works a lot better. This snaggletooth there, I will see if I can find the the name and all that stuff and put it down in the description because I'm a jackass and I did not look that up beforehand. But there's a couple of knives that he sent with this and it works really well. But we're not going to really talk about that much anymore because it doesn't come with that. That's aftermarket. The thumb studs on this thing are pretty big. They're not too sharp. They're just in the right spot for me to whip this thing out. So I really like that. Cold Steels in the Triad Lock. Cold Steels, first of all, comes sharp as hell. These things, I mean, out of the box are really, all the Cold Steels that I've had have been the sharpest than any other brand. Will cut you by looking at you. It is amazing. And this is no exception. This thing will cut you, and because of that Triad Lock, to close it one-handed, the only way you need to do this is either do it two-handed or put your finger way up there, and that way your finger hits on that portion of the knife, and then you can close it. It works well as long as your thumb or your finger is way up there to stop that thing. It's great. If you are not there in that and you want to try to get this thing to swing down, see? That has been, this knife in particular hasn't bitten me because I've learned about my Cold Steels. But other ones have. So you definitely need to watch out for that and only close it that one way, one-handed, or to go ahead and close it with two hands. That's probably the safest way. But I like a knife. I really want to carry a knife that I can open and close with one hand. And so doing it this way allows me to do that. And so it's very, very nice to have. You know, it's just how I use my knives. I want to be able to work with something with this hand and then get my knife out, deploy it, cut what I got to cut, close it, and stow it. That's how I like to do it. And then as a tool, this works amazingly for that. And that's what I really want you to take away from this. Cold Steel makes good tools. We're going to get behind the camera and do some size comparisons of other Cold Steel models. This one is actually quite large. Of course, I like big knives. You guys know that. But this one, like every one of the Cold Steel knives that I have that have the Triad Lock, I basically think that whenever people said it locks like a bank vault, that they're talking about a Cold Steel knife or an Andrew Demko knife with the Triad Lock. I want you to just listen. That snap is loud and amazing. I love hearing that snap. This thing is a bank vault. 100%. There is absolutely no blade play in these at all. The torques, I guess you can probably, if you loosen this, I don't know how it would affect the action. I didn't actually mess with this, but it locks up. And I'm telling you, you will break other things on this knife before you break the lock. It is that strong. You can watch all kind of videos on YouTube from Lim Thompson doing all kind of crazy stuff with the Triad Lock. So if you're wanting a very strong knife and you don't care about the fidget factor, Cold Steel is definitely the way to go. And the SR1 is really an amazing option. You have very well done G10. This thing does not have internal liners. It is just a spring and big thick slabs of G10, which of course are very, very sturdy. It is a overbuilt knife, but it doesn't, like I said, if it didn't have liners, a lot of times I don't like that. But this thing feels like a tank because it is, especially because of that big old blade right there. It just feels amazing to work with. It is a wonderful tool. The pocket clip is your typical Cold Steel pocket clip. Has the lanyard hole there for all the lanyard guys. If you notice the way this thing, it kind of swoops down, the pocket clip right here, it goes in and out of pocket pretty good, but there are some Cold Steel knives that are a little bit more tight trying to get in the pocket, where you have to try to lift it up, and you can always bend that out. They do that, I believe, for the ergonomics, so that thing doesn't poke you, but you kind of have a trade-off there for getting in and out of pocket. It does go, this particular one goes in and out of pocket really well. And I like it. I mean, it's definitely left-handed. You can actually flip the knife, and because it's a Triad Lock, it is totally ambidextrous. So lefties, rejoice. Kevin, do you have any Cold Steel knives? I don't know if you do. You need to. Kevin is Lefty EDC. Me and Jake from Bearded Gear. And Lefty EDC just got through doing a podcast, actually, a couple days ago, whenever this post. But anyway, definitely go check out that podcast from Jake on Jake's channel, Bearded Gear, because we had such a good time. We talked forever, and yeah, it was so much fun. So definitely go check that out. This knife also comes with a clip point blade, and I'm going to see if I can't put a picture of that clip point blade right here, so you can see that. So you have a clip point and a Tanto version. if I was to buy one, I think I would buy the clip point. Now, I like a good Tanto, and this one is a very good Tanto. As you can see, flat grind on this blade and a flat grind on the Tanto, very acute angle. Cold Steel does a very good job on their Tantos. I've kind of gotten to where I like the Tanto with a kind of a little bit of belly on it, like the Chavez. Let me just kind of show you because I'm talking about it. This Tanto, as you can see, a little dirty here, comes and has just a little bit of belly right there. So a different kind of Tanto. I've really been digging that blade shape. But a Tanto, I do like. Tanto, potato, whatever you want. So, but I like it. It's just, I think I would rather have the clip point. Because if I would, this knife to me is an excellent bag knife, like a get home bag or a bug out bag. You know, obviously, you know, we go into a whole discussion about definitely having a fixed blade and whatnot, but this knife is so well built, sturdy. You've got a really nice thick blade that also has a 90-degree on its 90-degree spine, which does a couple of different things. One, you can actually get some fire steel strikes really well with this thing, I would imagine. Of course, I haven't done that, but you know, 90-degree spine and a big old thing like this, I'm pretty sure you could. But ergonomically, this knife feels absolutely wonderful. And if it wasn't for the snaggletooth here, my thumb for a saber grip lands on that big flat. It's not rounded. It actually is a little bit of sharp on the side, but that is so thick that I feel really good getting behind the blade. Got a lot of purchase on this thing. The snaggletooth kind of hurts that a little bit, but in a hammer grip, as you can see with my big old hands, I've got plenty of room. Plenty of room. This thing feels really good in the hand, really good and locked in. There is no jimping on the blade. There's a little bit of jimping, you know, kind of inside the, or on the G10 right here, which I don't feel like it needs it there. But that's about it. You got a G10 backspacer and, you know, with a lock in the G10 backspacer, you can't really see through it. Now, still easy to clean. I mean, there's hardly, you know, the moving parts of this knife are, you know, very, very simple. So just blowing it out, you know, taking care of it, this should be very easy. One of the only gripes that I have about this knife is apparently it runs on Teflon washers. Now, Teflon washers have been used by many, many knife makers, and Teflon washers work. I just personally would rather have the phosphor bronze in a work knife. A lot of people want phosphor bronze in their work knives because with bearings, they get gunked up and whatnot. And then, of course, with phosphor bronze, it's less likely for that to happen. It's less likely for it to happen here as well. However, Teflon is just not as strong as phosphor bronze. And I've heard some horror stories about the Teflon washers actually tearing. And so that, it's not a deal breaker for me. I just wish they would have gone with phosphor bronze instead of the Teflon. I think it would just be a little bit better. Now, as far as fit and finish, we're going to turn this knife around and kind of go over the fit and finish of this knife being made in Taiwan. There is some issues, but I also want to get some size comparisons in front of you so you can see what this thing really looks like compared to other knives, because it is not a small knife. So let's do that right now. All right, let's get a better look at this guy. So as you can see, the G10 scales that I was talking about, the texturing that's on this thing, I think is really nice. It might be a little too aggressive for some folks, but they rounded off the edges. They did a really good job on these scales, and I dig it. I like it a lot. You know, a lot of people don't like the non-deep carry, but with a knife like this that really is a work knife / tactical knife, however you want to define it, sitting deep carry I don't think is a good thing. And I don't have to have a deep carry to have on my knife. You know, it's nice sometimes, but I definitely don't have to have it. Matter of fact, sometimes I prefer not to have it, which is very unlike a lot of the knife community. So I get it. I am a kind of an oddball, but yeah. Let me get you just a little bit better look at the blade. As you can see there, CPM S35 VN, made in Taiwan. And then, of course, you have the SR1. So you see this SR1, I'm not a picky person, but it actually stood out to me. You see how the SR1 is kind of on an angle like that? That kind of irked me a little bit. And little things like this really don't most of the time. And I say irk, it's just something that I noticed, and then for some reason I just kept thinking about it. It is not a big deal at all, but yeah, it just kind of caught my eye that it's not straight to the spine of the knife. But you know, oversized hardware. This is actually a T15, so I really like that. But all of the rest of the screws are T6. I really wish, because it's, you know, a decent sized knife, a T8 would be awesome. Bigger button head screws. I just think that would be, you know, well placed on this particular knife. Some of the fit and finish issues that I see here. So, you know, it's nicely satin right there. I don't know. I really want to know from you guys. Do you see that, or that, you know, you've got a sharp corner right there, and then that one looks like it's rounded off. And then, of course, the top of the spine, or where the lock is, it, you know, is flush, and then it comes down. That's probably a design thing. It's just not very even, where they come down and grind that flat. But it doesn't look very good. Now, granted, nobody's buying this knife because of the looks. Maybe. I might be wrong. But, you know, people are going to buy this knife, want a good, sturdy work knife, and, you know, with a big, thick blade that they can do basically anything they want to. With the big, thick blade and the Triad Lock, this thing's just a beast and a workhorse. Let's go ahead and get some specs on this guy, and then we'll put some other knives up for comparison. This thing is an overall length of 9.375 inches with a 4-inch blade, so it's a big boy. You have a handle length of about 5.375. You have a blade thickness of, like I said, about 188 thousandths. You have a, what did I put that? Oh, it's about 34 thousandths behind the edge, because it does have a nice flat grind, but it is not thin, and that's okay. Not every knife needs to be a which this thing slices, okay? It does. It's sharp as shit. But, you know, as far as those little fine, you know, cutting an apple kind of a thing, this will do it. But it's not like a laser beam, because it's a little bit thicker behind the edge, but it's that way to make it stronger. S35VN is a relatively tough steel, and so I really like that on this knife. I wouldn't buy this knife because I wanted to slice apples really thin and cut tomatoes without moving and all that stuff. It's not going to happen. So let's put some comparisons up here, shall we? We're going to go ahead and do the normal. Here's the Spyderco PM2. And then here it is against the PM3. So regular size comparisons, there you go. It is definitely a much larger knife than both of those. Now, let's put them against some Demco models in my collection. Let's do it against the Cold Steel 8015. So as you can see, they're, you know, definitely got the same color G10. This one is much, much more aggressive. And this one, of course, has the Scorpion lock. But as you can see, a lot of people say the AD15 is a big knife, and the SR1 is dwarfing it right now. A little bit wider of a blade on the AD15, a little bit slimmer on the SR1, but I like that. I like that a lot. As far as carry profile, these things are going to be around the same because they have similar ergonomics, except for this handle is just a little bit longer, so it feels the hand, and you got a little bit more room to choke back on. And then, of course, you can choke up right here with kind of a finger choil. I don't really know. I mean, yeah, I use it as a finger choil whenever I had this knife. And it's kind of the same thing with the AD15. It's just not near as big. But yeah, ergonomically, they feel pretty similar, except for the fact that you got a little bit more room to choke up and back. Here it is against the Cold Steel 8010. Now, as you can see, the SR1 is longer. The biggest difference between these two knives, as far as hard use, this is my go-to hard use knife. The reason I like this knife so much is because it does have contoured G10 versus, I'll show you, contoured G10 versus flat G10. So ergonomically, the 8010 is definitely better in that sense. Not to say that this is bad. It's not. But it does feel more blocky in the hand. And then, of course, on the 8010, you have full liners. And so the strength of this knife, and I talk about it all the time, is absolutely outstanding. Because these two right here have the Triad Lock. Yeah, they are very, very strong. But the SR1 does not. It has just really good thick slabs of G10. And it's sturdy, guys. I mean, it's sturdy. But I think I would rather have the full liners. However, as far as price is concerned, you can get the clip point blade for like $160. I paid $160, I think, I paid a lot less than that because I bought it used, but I think you can buy these for about $160. And if that, in that comparison, I think the 8010 is going to be a much better knife. But if you want that extra reach, that clip point and the Tanto are both 4 inches. This one is smaller than that, and cutting length you have much less on the 8010. So if that is important to you, then definitely go with the SR1. Now for some reason, the Tanto is like $209. The exact same knife, just a clip point versus a Tanto. Who knows? Who knows? I have no idea why that is, but it is. It's a thing. And I think I would rather have the clip point, to be honest, other than the Tanto, unless you were just going to buy this knife for a tactical purpose. I mean, obviously, this knife will do whatever you want it to do. It just doesn't have any belly on it, like a clip point would. And so if you like the belly, there you go. We're going to put it up against my last one here. This is the Cold Steel 4MAX. So this ought to tell you something. The Cold Steel 4MAX is an absolute beast of a knife. And we are getting really close. Now, as you can see, the ergonomics on the 4MAX are definitely different, but your handle grip length is pretty similar. You can't hardly see that, but your handle grip length is pretty similar. On this one, it is kind of curved, and it really feels good in the hand. I do have a full review on this guy if you want to check that out, because this is very, very comfortable and a very big, beastly knife. I would say this one, obviously, and the 8010 are going to be more strong, but still stronger than anything you would probably need a folding knife to do. But it's pretty amazing that the Cold Steel 4MAX and the SR1 are really close in overall length. So it is definitely a large knife. There is no doubt about it. If you're looking for a large knife and about that price range, I mean, for the clip point, $160, I don't think is bad at all. The Tanto, I mean, you might be able to find them cheaper somewhere, but on Blade HQ, when I looked before the video, $209, I don't think is really there. I mean, it does have S35V in steel, and there is a cheaper version of this knife. There's an SR1 Lite. I can't remember exactly how it, but it's under $100, and it's matter of fact, I think it might be $70, but it's like 8 CR13 MOV and FRN handles. So if you like the knife, you want it just a tad bit. Oh yeah, speaking of weight. Okay, so this G10, and there's no liners on this thing. I wanted to show you guys the actual weight on this and compare it to some of these other ones, because when I picked it up, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of lightweight. I was wrong. I mean, I'm so used to carrying the bigger knives. 7.2 ounces. I mean, that's going to be heavy for a lot of people. It's obviously not for me. I carry knives this weight and a lot heavier. So if weight is important to you, then, you might go with the SR1 Lite. You're going to get a little bit less, actually a lot less better steel and FRN. But I believe that one is still like 6.8 ounces. So yeah, and it's really all to do with that big old blade stock. That big old blade stock is going to do a lot of work for you. And so, yeah, so 7.2 ounces. What is it compared to the full liners, a little bit smaller knife of the 8010? So, very negligible, can't talk today, difference. 7.2 to 7 ounces. I think this is going to be, if you're going to have a heavier knife, the 8010, I really don't think you can go wrong. Now, you don't have as much blade length as you do on this guy. Let's see what it looks like against another model with a different lock, the 8015. 8015 is much more lightweight, 6.4 ounces. And then, of course, we'll put the big boy up there just because we have it out. You could carry something that's 10.3 ounces. Okay, and I do. I love carrying this knife. I have really used this hard. And so, yeah, I carry stuff like this. So, you know, that's why this thing felt so light. So anyways, I really have enjoyed carrying this. Let's go ahead, turn the camera back around, and we will give you my final thoughts on the Cold Steel SR1. All right, final thoughts and conclusion on the Cold Steel SR1. I love it. Okay, it's not perfect, but for what it is and for what this knife was designed to do, I think it is an excellent choice. You want this as a tactical knife, it'll work. I'm not a tactical guy. I don't fight with my knives, but you've got a really nice Tanto, a lot of reach with a big knife. You're good in every grip. It works. For what I would probably use this for is a very hard use folder to go in a bug out bag, a get home bag, or even an EDC for somebody who just does a lot of hard work. I think this is a very, very good option. There are other options out there, but I was really impressed on this guy. I really enjoyed carrying it. I'm really glad that I was able to do so. S35VN steel, I think, is an excellent steel for this type of knife. You know, I am okay with the price of the clip point, which is 160 bucks. The 209 for this guy, I'm a little bit hesitant on. I don't think, you know, compared to like the 8010 that you can get now, yeah, actually on the secondary market, you can even get the Cold Steel 4 Max for, you know, 200 bucks now. So I don't really think that that's going to be worth it. Now the clip point, I would definitely go with. You know, the fit and finish, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's very functional and very hard use. The pocket clip does okay, but it is going to be a little bit of a pocket shredder. You know, if you're going to have a knife like this, you're going to wear pants that are thicker and a little bit more heavy duty, so that really shouldn't be a problem. The snaggletooth, I really did enjoy. It worked a lot better than most of the Emerson knives that I had, so remember to look for the name of that in the description. Hopefully I can find it and remember it. Rusty will tell us in the comments if I don't. So because that's something I've never done, and I still don't know if I would ever do that because I just don't like to pull my knife that way. But this thing, as far as the slow roll, is exactly how I do this every single time. It is so satisfying to hear that click. Ugh. If you like mechanical sounds and stuff, Cold Steel, that's pretty good. So anyways, guys, I like it. I like it a lot. I can recommend this knife to anybody who's wanting a hard-use knife. With these materials, it does an excellent job. It slices like a dream. Still a little thick behind the edge, but for a work knife, it does very, very well. It ate cardboard like crazy. So I like it. I can recommend it. If you want to check it out, they have them all over the place. You can buy these now. And yeah, let me know in the comments. Do you have one of these? Do you like it? Let me know. If you hate it, let me know. Guys, once again, I want to kind of let you know about the channel stickers. I'm so proud of these things. These things came out really, really good. If you want a channel sticker, definitely hit me up. I got some holographic ones here that are going to be kind of special because these right here are only got 50 of them. We got quite a few of these, but if you want some, let me know. Guys, stay safe in this absolutely crazy world that we are living in, and we will see you in the next one.